wheel spinning. There we go. Now we're recording. So guys, this is Google Forms, a quick way to inform instruction. I'm Stephanie Caceres, if you don't know me, which a lot of you probably don't. Weird. I teach at Everett Alvarez. I am the social science department chair, and I teach government econ, and I have for like 5 or 6 or 7 years or something. I've lost track. I use Google Forms every single day. And don't worry, I'm about to tell you where the cat is. Is everybody looking? Everybody's got it up? Okay. So these are all owls. And then right here, this like gray one, I'm circling it, is a cat. You can tell because it's got a different nose in every single thing. You see it? See my little cat? So it's gray, and it's in the bottom, like right corner. That's the cat. I found this online because it showed up on my Instagram. So if you haven't already, I know, right? I'm a super cat person. If you are ready, let's get going. I put the sign-in link in the chat at 2:31. So did Sharmisa. I also put the slides link. If anybody needs me to do that again, go ahead and you can turn off your mic and let me know, or you can put it in the chat. I have dual windows. Cool. I have dual windows so that I can see the chat while I am presenting. This was a really good thing when I had students, because a lot of them wouldn't turn on their mics and they'd have questions and I wouldn't notice till the end of the presentation, which is not helpful for anyone, me included. So slide 2, here we go. Our goals of the day. Did it change? Everybody saw it change slides, right? It's weird because it doesn't show me what I'm presenting, which is super annoying. So here we go. Today's goals, we're going to learn how to make a Google form if you haven't already. And then I'm going to show you some cool tricks to use Google Form and Google Sheets to assess student learning. Raised hands or just like kind of thing. How many of you guys have filled out a Google form before? Yes. Thumbs up, raise hands. I'm seeing you. I'm loving it. It's everybody. Everybody's used a Google form before, because if you've signed in because you want to get paid, that's a Google form. In the chat, I would like you to say what other things have you used Google Forms for in life or in your classroom. Just go ahead and chat. Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Oh, a reading log. Surveys, definitely. If I present the whole screen for slide, Janelle, then I can't see the chat. I have not found a way around that yet. Exit tickets, quizzes, quiz. Ooh, I'm glad to see people use it for quizzes. Surveys, sign into classes. Great job, Matthew. Student intake, open house. Ooh, that's a good one. I never thought about using it for open house. Book reports, attendance check-in, and quizzes. Fantastic. So these are some of the things I came up with. What I use it for in my classroom: bell work. Every single day they do bell work, you know, back when we were like, had a bell. And then surveys, feedback forms, formative assessments, summative assessments, exit tickets, and you guys came up with a lot more things than I did. So fantastic. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this. So I have some samples of things I've used Google Forms for in the past. So here's a CFA. As GovEcon lead, I usually create the CFAs and send it out. So this is what the students see. If you've ever filled out a form, which you have, what you're seeing is like the student view. If you create your own form, it's a lot different. So I have the first question being listed as their name. Just so everybody knows, you have to ask the students their name on a Google form, or else it only gives you their email address. And unless you've memorized all of your students' ID numbers, it makes it a huge pain to like go back and grade or like give feedback or anything like that. So make sure you ask their name. I like to organize by block, and then we organize this one by teacher just for the data. So these are questions we came up with together. And then the really important part, if you're going to do this as a CFA and you want your fellow teachers to be able to edit it, is when you go to the three dots. You guys can see this, right? You can see what I'm saying? Yeah, okay. The three dots over by your name, and you click add collaborators. You can go ahead, like I've actually added everybody who taught GovEcon like in the department because I put it in a shared folder for other people to look at. And so this is now, they can all edit. Let's say I did not want Chris Brabant to edit, which I did take away his access at one point. I could remove him. But if you add somebody as a collaborator, they will have ability to edit, just so everybody's aware. But it's a good thing for CFAs. Like, I'm not very good with grammar, so there's always one person that corrects the grammar for me when it comes to Google Forms. So there's just one way. This one doesn't have any responses because those, I have seniors, and so when they left, it like deleted their info. So let's go back. Here's warm up. This one I saved so we could look at responses. Like I said, always start with name. I saw Gaskell, yes. If you want to separate alphabetically, first and last name, you would ask like first name and then a last name question, which is a great way to do it. So what I do, this is their bell work. This is their warm up. So these are questions, GDP and inflation were the previous lesson. And then I always like to do check-ins, especially at the end of the school year. This is from 2 years ago, just so everybody is clear on that, because there wasn't things like community service hours and stuff last year. So positive thing, how are you doing? Do you know that your things are due? And then some fun things, school appropriate joke. Favorite restaurant, the number one answer for some reason was Olive Garden. And so this one, when you click on the edit, which is, let me go back. So now it's a little pencil looking thing in the corner. They change it. They update Google Forms constantly. And so you click on that, you have your questions and you have your responses. Your responses, you can see like a general overview of what the students answer. I always like to go through for like the joke one. I would like go through, not project this on the screen and find an appropriate joke to share with the students. Yeah, see, Olive Garden. I don't get it. But this is just like an informal way. And these are really easy because once you make a Google form, you always have the Google form. So like I made this 2 years ago, I still have it. What I would do is I would make a copy of this and then use it again whenever we go over GDP and inflation. Because once you make a copy, it separates it as a separate document and you won't have the same responses anymore. That's why I like to make copies of things. I mean, if you're not going to actually grade the assignment, it's fine. But like I like to look over things and compare it from year to year and things like that. I'm gonna breathe. Do they get, okay, so my Google Forms, great question, Bainbridge, they don't get archived or removed because they're created in your Drive and then I share them through Google Classroom. So there has been issues with when students share things with you, if you're not the owner and then the student leaves the district, they delete all of that work. But because I am the owner of these Google Forms, I have them forever. No, Dixon. I have not had good success with linking these with Synergy to AutoGrade. If you make a copy make a copy before collaborator status, and then it protects your own work. Like that CFA I showed you wasn't the CFA we gave. It was a copy that I made afterwards. Okay, quizzes. This is the best way I've found to do like matching quizzes in Google Forms, because like every online like testing software, I haven't taken the Synergy one yet, so I cannot speak ill of that yet. Matching is something I really like doing as a teacher with vocabulary, yet I have not found a good testing website that's one, user-friendly for the students, two, like used enough that it would be worthwhile for me, three, free, and four, good at matching. So with economics and government, terminology and vocabulary is real big for me. And so what I've done, I'm going to go to edit so you can see it. So always the first and last name. I always do the block because then it separates it out for me. And then I make a word bank with the words so the students can check off which words they've used and which ones they haven't used. And the way I do this is when you add a question, which is this button, you can change what kind of question it is. So short answer, paragraph, multiple choice, check boxes, and the not. So if you make it a checkbox question and make it worth 0 points, then you can, when the student uses the word, they can check off in the word bank that it's already been used and they know not to use it twice. My students, my EL, said that was really easy for them because they need to keep like a log of which words they've used and which ones they haven't. So like the prolonged rise in the general price level of final goods and services, that's inflation. What they would do is they would type inflation. I think it's inflation. Don't quote me on that. They would type inflation as their answer, and then they can check off inflation in the word bank knowing that they've already used it. And so that's the best way I found to do matching quizzes. When you are putting your, it's really important when you make a quiz in Google Forms, you can have it auto grade for you, which is the best feature I found to save time, but you have to add the correct answer in any form you'd be willing to take it. So because I use a word bank, I will accept inflation spelled correctly or inflation like, and capitalization does matter. So I had to put it in here twice, one with the I capitalized and one without, or it marks it incorrect. Because I checked, mark all other answers incorrect, and then you have to give it a point value. I'm going to go over this in more detail. Don't be so concerned. I see some of your faces with concern. Also, the best tool to learn is doing it yourself, in my opinion. And then this is something I've used. This is the last form I'm going to show you as an example. This is one that I used this year with distance learning because I know that we care about our students. And my school site asked us to do a check-in with our students. My students were already used to Google Forms. My students were very responsive. So I sent out a Google form to all of my kids. I titled it something alarming, please complete ASAP. And then I asked them, are you feeling okay? Do you need school supplies? Do you have technology needs? If yes, let me know. And then like on this one, do you have an internet or hotspot? If they answered no, let me know what you need. And then I let them know that Comcast was offering free internet service and I gave them the link that they could click on and it would take them to a separate page in the description. Just so it's a good way to receive information as well as give out information. And then what I did, so looking through the responses, it's a lot, right? Reading 111 responses would be excessive. So what you can do is go to question. You could go to how are you feeling? And it tells you, like, you could scan to see if there's any that are bad. The ones that are yes or no are the best ones, though. So this one, do you need school supplies? I had 106 responses that said no. So I would then click here where the responses were yes. And it tells me which students answered yes. So I could then email them or check their form individually and find out what they needed. So let's not look at their name. And then the student said they needed paper. I sent him an email where he could go to the school to get paper. A lot faster way than going through each individual question. Trust me on that one. So that's the question responses feature. And the last feature I'm going to show you guys is the spreadsheet. Not that spreadsheet. Where's the spreadsheet I was showing everyone? Okay, it's on this one. I want to try and protect my students' privacy as much as possible. And so I have one that I already altered so that their names aren't listed. So this is the warm-up responses. Let's say I was going to grade this. I, of course, would leave their names up. And I like doing it by timestamp. Some teachers, like I saw Gascal, you like doing it by name. when I do it by timestamp and their names there, I know that first block is done. And then that's the way I do it. And then I know which kids didn't take the quiz or the warm up or whatever that day. And then I go back and I know that they're at the bottom of the list. So with any Google Sheets, you can change the way that it's arranged for what way that you want. So right now, timestamp is up at the top. So it's arranged by block 1, and then 3, and then 2, and then 4. And then the bottom is like people who tried to do it after, because some people will see, like, here's one. Took it like 2 hours after class the next day. And I'm like, good for you. But it's good to check in. Let's say that I was really focusing on, I wanted people. So this is, did you turn in your community service hours? Come on. So it would put all the maybes up at the top and then all the no's and then all the yeses. And so I know I could check in with these kids. And normally the first question, it goes like in order of questions. But like I said, I put their names like way over in another column to protect the kids' privacy. But I knew specifically that I could go check on these no kids who did not turn in their community service hours. I know specifically what I did is I copied all these emails and then I emailed them. I just copied and pasted it into an email to email the students to let them know they need to turn in their community service hours if they wanted to graduate 2 years ago. So, questions? The slide, the chat's been pretty quiet. Am I frozen? Am I moving? That's good. Okay. I didn't take a breath. Here we go. So,
Hi, Stephanie. Hey, could Google Forms translate into Spanish for my ELD1 newcomers? Is there that feature?
So you like I had a student that had Google Translate. So like when I give them a form, they use the Google Translate service to translate the form itself, but I have not done that. The issue with Google Forms is there are limitations. Like translating isn't something I've explored, but I know when students put answers that aren't grammatically exactly what you put in the quiz, it marks them wrong. And so like, let's say you're asking, I know like 3 Spanish words right now. What is Spanish for cat is the question. And then they put just gato instead of like el gato, it would mark them wrong. But I don't know if that's necessarily a translation issue. My number one advice with Google, all Google services, is play around with them because there's always features that people find that I don't even know about. Sorry, I'm not as helpful as I hoped. Okay, so here we have a screenshot of CFA number 1. After all the Google Forms are submitted, there's 2 tabs for you as the creator. There's your questions and your responses, which I already showed. If you want, so I like looking at the general thing. So like if I gave the CFA, which I did, and then I immediately after class, I show them like, hey, most of you guys got a 5 out of 8. Let's look at the questions you guys missed the most, because it tells you which question was missed the most. It tells you the median and the average score. And so I found it to be a really good tool to like inform and to reteach, and a quick way to know like what needs to be revisited. Like for example, on the CFA form, they all missed the Declaration of Independence question, like 90% of them. So I knew that I had to go back and talk about the Declaration again. More individualized information, like I said, is better to go to Google Sheets, and it gives you that spreadsheet that does save to your Google Drive. So here's the form I already showed you. Okay, we have come to the point in the presentation where I'm going to talk less, smile more, and I want you guys to create your own Google Forms. So what you're going to do is you're gonna, I just opened like a Google tab. So this is my home page. You click on the waffle, as I call it, because it kind of looks like a waffle, the 3x3 dots, and then click on Forms. If we were in a classroom, I would now wander about the classroom saying that you guys have opened the Google Forms properly. But because we are virtual, I do not know if you need help unless you tell me that you need help. Does anybody need me to repeat that or go over it again? I'm seeing shaking heads. Thank you. So once you're here, if you look, I have like 10,000 Google Forms because that's how often I use it. But you can start a blank or a blank quiz. I always start blank. I never start blank quiz, even when it's going to become a quiz, because I'm weird. Because when I started using Google Forms, that wasn't an option. And then from here, you can play around. You can play around and start doing like whatever you want. What I suggest for this session for right now is you make a form, you add some questions, and then you share it with somebody. Like you could actually just put the link to your form in the chat and see if some of your classmates would take your form, or you can email it to a friend, or you could, I don't know, email it to your significant other in the house and make them take it to make sure everything's okay. Looking back on the slides, hopefully you guys have opened the slides on your own. I give you a lot of information about how to make your own Google form. Click on blank, and then how to send it out, because this was a big question last year. Sending it through Google Classroom is the best way I've found to send out Google Forms, because you want to send it to like a lot of people. But when I make a Google form for, say, my department, I would go to the send feature, enter email addresses, and then hit send. You can also, because Google loves talking to itself, you can just attach it to emails. Google Forms can just be attached to emails. And then I go over some settings for you guys. But like I said, I want you guys to play around, turn on your mic, or write it in the chat if you have any questions for me about how to make a form. So I'm giving you guys, it's 2:55. Let's say 20 minutes of playtime, and then we will come back at 3:15, and I'll answer any questions you guys might have while the creation process has been happening. Sound good? Thumbs up. Yeah, fantastic.
Stephanie, if it's Carolyn over at LSL High, have you played with the extensions form limiter or form range?
I have not. I have only played with like the forms software itself, not any extensions. I just started using extensions when we began distance learning, and I hated a lot of them and then had to delete a lot of them and find replacements for a lot of them. So the forum ones I have not specifically. No. Short answer, no.
Okay. Well, I was going to share with the group and with you, I played with them during summer school. The form limiter can actually put in a time range. Like when you're saying your first block, your second block, whatever, you can actually go in and tell the form to stop accepting responses after a certain time and a certain date. And then the cool thing is that it emails the student that this form is no longer accepting responses, which made the student then have to reach out to me, and we could then have a little chat as to, again, distance-wise, but still chat, what happened, why were you not able to get it done during that time? So that was pretty cool feature. And then the other one that I discovered again during the summer is within the question bank. When you are doing the question, if you click on the response, I was able to put a remark in there that because they were, if you wanted a longer answer and they only gave you like a 2-sentence answer and you wanted 5 sentences, it could count the characters, and you could say the auto response would be, try again, give me a little bit longer of an answer, things like that. So those are just really cool features that in playing around with extensions through the distance learning for summer, which were pretty cool.
Awesome. It's funny because they have extensions for that, but I'm like, no, I found workarounds before. They probably had extensions.
Right. Yeah. So the
Sorry.
No, sorry. I just wanted to share those and ask if you had any other experiences using them.
Not the extensions, but I have found workarounds in the software that you could do that. So when you create a question, you can add a description. That's how I added things like those links that told kids where to click. So like if I asked what is GDP, in the description, I probably should specify, do not tell me what the G, the D, and the P stand for, but instead specify the purpose of GDP. And then that's what the student would see when they're answering the questions. So they'll know kind of more specifically what you're looking for. Another cool feature that I think you mentioned, Carolyn, is the response validation.
Right.
And response validation is where you can tell the kids like the length and the minimum character, like your answer is too short, essentially,
Right.
which I have also done.
Yeah.
Like if I was using this for like the CFA, sometimes they answer in like a word, and I'm like, guys, use a complete sentence. So, thank you.
I think that one and the response one also allows you might work when you've got the word bank there for matching. If it's marked it wrong, where you could put a reply of check spelling, or check the word bank for spelling.
Exactly. That's a really wonderful feature, is that it kicks back the answer so the kid doesn't necessarily get it wrong. The other thing is you mentioned that it kicks the kids out at a certain amount of time. And I always limit to one response, especially when it's a quiz. And there is a way. Where did it go? There's a way where you can like turn the quiz off and say that the kids can't respond anymore.
Yeah,
that was my question, was whether or not we could limit the amount of time that they have access to a quiz. Say they have to start by a certain time and finish by a certain time.
That is what Carolyn was saying, is that there's a form extension that does that now, where it limits the date and time that the form is open, and then it would automatically close. So let's say I had it open on August 10th, the first day of school. I want it like a get to know you thing. I could have it close at the end of the day so the students aren't taking it after I need it kind of thing. A lot of students tend to do that, wait to the last minute when it's not helpful for them anymore.
Right.
And
the one you were looking for, Stephanie, is up where the responses are on that number. I think it's 120. If you click on accepting responses, the blue.
There it is. Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could also go to responses and click that, and it will say that it's no longer accepting responses. And then I have said, you waited too long, email me, and then I put my email address. That's one of those workarounds I've done before.
Yeah.
Especially for things like, the good thing about pairing it with Google Classroom is you can limit kids that aren't there that day as well when you send out a Google form. Let me go. I think I kept one class back from being archived just to show you guys. There it is. So when I share a form in Google Classroom, let's find one. See if that'll be a form. What you can do is you can edit the kids that are there that day. So like I put for all students, but if you unclick it and then like unclick the kids that weren't there, they don't have access to taking the form until they come talk to you. And so I have like a running list of things on the board that the kids have done because I keep a notebook. And so it'll say, you missed CFA 2, please come talk to me. And then I can activate it because it won't even show up on their Google form if their name is unchecked. So let's just do this to Lisa because I know Lisa is, no, none of these students are in school anymore because they all graduated. But if I go ahead and I save, it shows up on my feed and it shows up on these 27 students feed, but on Lisa's Google Classroom, the quiz does not show up at all. It like doesn't exist for them. So that's another way of doing that. And then like at the end of the day or the end of the time I'm accepting, I would have the not accepting responses slider anymore. Thank you, Carolyn. I think that nap took away some of my brain cells.
Oh, I just started playing with it and just wanted to share that it was really pretty successful, especially with the distance learning and having students turning in things different times. And so I would assign things and then basically give them until the 9 a.m. check-in the next morning. So, and then what also happened was they weren't working on it to frantically get it done because it was already due while I was trying to present. So those kinds of things happen.
That's awesome. Another thing is that I don't, so this is a warm-up. Let me show you guys a quiz real quick. When it comes to the quizzes, make sure that you're changing things in settings that go with quizzes. So if you make it a quiz, it assigns point values. They started locked mode last year. Turning on locked mode meant that the students couldn't complete or even open the form unless they were on the school issued Chromebook. And then when they were on the Chromebook, it would make the quiz full page so that they can't open any other tabs. Unfortunately, on distance learning, unless it's a guarantee that your students are using a Chromebook, the locked mode isn't helpful. Like I have students that aren't using Chromebooks, instead they're using like MacBooks or the home desktop, and locked mode only works for the school Chromebooks. But like in class, days that we had quizzes, which was every Monday, like my kids knew a quiz was coming, I told them you need to make sure you have your Chromebook. Because I had a couple kids with MacBooks. I'm like, even MacBook people, you need to bring your Chromebook, because I would turn on locked mode so they can't open any other tabs. I also never release the grade immediately. I always do it later after manual review, for the sole fact that I am a human. And there's been times that I've typed in answers and spelled them like incorrectly. And the students will start to panic when they see that they got a 0 on a question. And so I like to manually review. Then you can go through and see things like that. Presentation's interesting. Presentation's good for like if you have separate sections or it's a very long form. Mine are usually no more than 10 questions. It'll show the kids a progress bar about how far they've gotten. Shuffling question order seems good, but is not always good. Shuffling question order sometimes, because you make the name a question, it'll put the name question at the bottom. Or here, I'll show you. I did not mean to close that. If you attach an image to ask a question about, it will move the questions around and not attach the image to them. So I have to think about last time I was in a classroom. Like this one. Here we go. So like this one, because I have an image and then I have a question about the image, I cannot shuffle question order. If I shuffle question order, it will move the questions and the pictures around, and then the questions won't make sense anymore. So like this one, I can never shuffle question order because I have so many images. Does that make sense? Did I kind of make that make sense? Okay. So that's just things that like you figure out over time. When it's a check all that apply question, like let's say, what? I was management. Okay, sorry. So the answer is 1. Oh, it's not even, hello, I'm not taking the form. It's this one, and this one. If they click anything else, like let's say they also click size of market, it marks them wrong. If they click 1 out of the 3, it marks them wrong. They have to get all 3 to get the point. And in the past, I was like, oh, I'll make it worth 3 points. But Google Forms doesn't work that way. Like if I made this a 3-point question, it doesn't assign like this as a point, this as a point, and this as a point. So like I said, there are limits. That's why I usually use it for something like matching or multiple choice. Or something like this where it's really easy for me to go in and see, okay, well, they missed that one clearly. But when you have them like click multiple things or write in an answer, you as the teacher have to go in and check their answer. Do I have any responses in this one? I do not. That's because that was a retake. So I always do retakes for my my English learners and 504s, IEPs that we legally have to. And I found that it's really easy to do retakes for students with Google Forms because you can just make a copy and then just change some of the settings and it's set up. And I go over that in the slides. So let's look at some responses for this one to like demonstrate what I'm talking about. So when, like, let's say you're going to go in and individually grade this, I always go to individual. I'm not going to show you the kid's name. So like this one, this student missed this question. They got one of the correct answers, but they missed the other one. I have it set up so it tells the student the correct answer because on this particular quiz, I offered retakes. And so I'm like, okay, well, if I show them the correct answer, they can go over it in their own minds. And then where is equilibrium found? I have to look at their answer to see if they got it correct or not because there's so many like various answers they could give that could have been correct. This kid wrote in the graph. My feedback could be like, ha, 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 very funny, but not correct. And then if I hit save, it would send that response out to the student. You can also add a link. Like, let's say that you did a specific document that talked about where to find equilibrium. Like I have a slideshow about it. I could link that slideshow and the student could look at the slides again. Or for distance learning, we did a lot of crash course economics videos from like Mr. Clifford and PBS. And so I'd ask questions about that. And let's say I decided to ask a quiz question about, let me think of one of the ones we watched. Well, we watched one on COVID-19 and masks and price inflation because that's a really interesting thing and super modern. Let's say the student answered a question, didn't get it correct. I could add feedback if they get the question incorrect. That could be a video clip and I could send them back to the video. So crash course economics. And I could just click that, click select, and hit save. And when the student looks over their results, they get an email, and it would give them the video link.
Hi, Stephanie. How are students able to access the feedback you're giving them? Like, is it through Google Classroom?
So this individual feedback, it's when they open their quiz again. So hold on. When I give them individual feedback, it sends it as an email when you release their scores. So like I would have to, add individual feedback and say like, I'm going to say, nice job. These kids all graduated and I know don't check their email anyways. So I could say, nice job. And then when I click release score, it will send them their score and it will send the feedback along with the questions.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And you could always, like you could say that if they can see missed questions, correct answer, or point values. I usually don't let them see correct answers until everybody has taken the quiz because I learned the hard way, like most teachers do. students were screenshotting their answers and then sending it to their friends. So by the time sixth period came along, everybody got 100%, even the student who had never come to class. And I was like, huh, that's a weird one. And yeah, I found out one of those kids that just loves to tell you things. They're like, oh yeah, somebody screenshotted their answers and sent them out. I was like, oh, well, I know you're not going to snitch because that's how you guys are. So we'll chalk that up to me being bad. And everybody got it was like a mulligan quiz. Like I graded it, but I didn't put it in the grade book kind of thing. Because that was my bad. And so always make sure I don't let them see correct answers until everybody's done. But missed questions, I don't see the real harm. Like, oh yeah, you missed it. That's good. If you are someone who does test corrections, it's good to not let them see correct answers and then make them look up the questions they missed. That's why it's good, like here. Where's the question? Individual feedback. I could add the link, and I could link to my slides. Let me find the slides I talk about it. Okay, yeah, I got it. Gosh. Is it just me or does Google tell me things a lot where I'm like, yeah, I know. And then you save it, and then when you send out that individual, come on. I have to hit add. See, I knew I missed something. It adds the slides as feedback. You hit save. And then when you send it to them, they can see the email. They can click on the slides and be like, oh, okay, that's where I find the answer. Question? We good? So it is 3:15. This is the time I said I'd come back and open the floor for general Q&A for anyone who hasn't asked a question already. Like I said, I've been monitoring. Oh, I have not been monitoring the chat. Oh, that's so awful. I feel like such garbage right now. I was like, oh, nobody's asked a question since 2:44. It's because I didn't scroll down. See? Imperfect.
Miss Stephanie, I have a question.
Yeah, what up? Miss Rhonda, go on.
So I really like Google Forms because you can add pictures and videos and ask questions, which is what I like that better than HyperDocs, because HyperDocs, they can change the text. If they open a Google form, do they have to finish it that day? That's not something they can go back to, right?
Oh, no, you can. It's just a setting that you changed. Sorry, now I'm trying to look through the chat I never looked through. So right here in the settings page, if you unclick limit to one response, the students can fill out the form multiple times. Or if you want them to only fill it out once and they edit after they submit, after they hit that they've submitted the form, they can go back into the same form and edit their answers and then resubmit. This one.
Would they have to, so let's say they're working on it, they got halfway done. In order for it to save, would they have to send it and then go back to it?
That is 100% how it works with Google Forms. Thanks for bringing that up. You have to, you can't close it and come back to it later. It doesn't auto save if you're filling out a form, for the students, like everything else does. So what you have to do is you would have to submit it half done and then go back and edit it after you've submitted. Good question. Thank you.
Okay, I see. I can see why now. Okay, never mind. Thanks.
Sorry. I know. Sorry, Ashley, if you arrange by block and then copy those rows within a block onto another page, how can you add pages at the bottom? Then you could have one page for each block for the assignment. Do you mean in Google Classroom, or do you mean how do you make the same form multiple times for multiple blocks? Sorry. I know a lot of people are leaving. Yeah, Angela, online translation is the worst. You think Google Translate's good sometimes, everything has its limits. That's what I tell my students. They think Google is the end all be all. And I'm like, it's kind of awful most of the time. like Google Translate. It's kind of awful. But I have had students use it to translate like the page to try and help them out, because even the broken, awful translate that it gives is better than nothing. Oh, sorry, Elise. Blank or blank quiz? Blank quiz is fine. I just don't like it because when I started, that wasn't an option. When you click blank quiz versus blank, it just makes sure that it starts with an answer key. If I just hit, whereas when you hit blank, sorry, I'm a visual learner. I don't know about you guys. When you hit blank, it just starts it as a general form, and it doesn't have that answer key part at the bottom, but you could always add that if you go to settings and you go to make it a quiz. And then it adds it. Some people just don't want to go through that step, and you can click on blank quiz and it already adds it in. Sorry, I'm trying to read the chat now because it, see, didn't know to scroll down. Carolyn, are you still here? Carolyn Cleaves. Can you?
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Can you put the extension names in the chat if you haven't already?
I was going to, and I was waiting for a moment when I didn't interrupt you as I did at the beginning.
No, you're fine.
I actually used the term extensions, and I caught myself because I went to go look for them so I could put it in chat. They're add-ons. Okay. They're not, but I will put it in there, but they're add-ons, not extensions. So I did use the wrong term, but I will put it in there for you.
Awesome. Thank you. Creates pie graphs and word clouds with their answers. Oh, that's cool. That's actually really cool if you're going over it with the students. We only do it for their CFAs, and we only give a CFA right now, like, well, we were only doing one like once a month.
I used that when the students did kind of a they did a reflection, they did a self-assessment on where they felt they were right now and their goals for where they wanted to be at the end of the year. And then they could see kind of as a class if there were trends and all that, and they use that data to kind of inform their goals as a class. So yeah, it was kind of cool.
No, that's super cool. I love learning new things. Like last year, I presented about Google Forms, and they had just added the locked mode on Chromebooks. And so if you are familiar with the Google Suites, they're always like really responsive to feedback. So years ago, I don't even know how many years, Google Classroom only allowed you to send things out whole class. I remember requesting, can I only send assignments out to certain students? And then that was something that was added later, because if enough people ask for it, they change it. Now that we're on distance learning, Google Meets is going to get things like breakout rooms and ability to mute people and things like that, for the sole fact that teachers need it. So if there's something that you want on Google Forms, like if there's, I've noticed this, so Carolyn was mentioning add-ons. If enough people are downloading the add-on, Google will sometimes add it themselves and put the add-on out of business. Yeah, because they're fun and powerful like that. Any other questions now that I was able to like use the chat? Okay.
Jeannie was asking how you access add-ons, or how do you search for add-ons?
Sorry, Jacqueline Ambrose, it seems that your mic is having some odd Morse code thing going on, so I muted you. But I can't unmute you. You're more than welcome to unmute yourself. Let me unmute you.
I went into some plastic bags, so it was logical. I typed the question. This is Jacqueline Ambrose. Do you plan to continue your traditional habit of beginning the class with well, at some point early in the class, having the students complete the Google form for the check-in, or are you using it for attendance, using Go Guardian for attendance? This is sort of off topic a little, but just curious what you plan to do, and I'll mute myself.
So it's fine. I actually, so I'm gonna be honest, when we had that hold harmless policy, I had like 2 students show up. And so it didn't really seem worth it to have things like that. But now that we don't have hold harmless anymore and the students are getting the message that they need to come to their virtual classes and that the virtual classes are going to be worthwhile, I probably will. Yeah. I like having a warm up. It gets the kids ready for class. It's usually like a 5-10 minute thing max. And you can go back and use it for attendance. I've done it when, like my attendance office would send like this form out saying like, oh, you marked the student absent and nobody else did. Can you tell me if they were actually absent in your class? And then with the Google Sheets, it tells you when they filled the form out. And so I've gone in and looked and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that was my bad. The student was here at 8:40 and I guess I never marked them present because they were 30 minutes late to class. And so that's a good thing to go back and look at, is like, oh, when did that student show up, kind of thing. So I think it would be helpful for distance learning. Using Google Form for quizzes on distance learning, though, I'm still thinking about. Tomorrow I'm going to take that synergy testing training that a lot of you guys already got into, lucky. And so that is really going to help me like figure out how much I'm going to use Google Forms for quizzes. But the check-ins and the warm-ups, I find it to be the fastest, easiest way, because I can make a Google form in like 10 minutes or less. Whereas like Illuminate, for a while we were trying to use CFAs in Illuminate, but like adding things to the question bank and then adding things to the quiz and then getting the kids in there was like such a long process. It didn't seem worth it to me. Did sound like Frogger. Oh yeah, it is, Matthew, if you're still here, it is realistic and possible to require students to use their school Chromebook. I just didn't because for me, it was like you had a computer that was good enough for me, but I would probably say 75 to 80% of my students were probably still using their Chromebook. If you make it a quiz, at least, you can respond right after each question, right? Yeah, you can. You can do it when you make the quiz. Is it an answer key? You can add answer feedback on every single question. So you can add it here and then it's general information for everybody for incorrect answers and then correct answers. So let's say, so like I said, it's a quiz. You go to the answer key and then add answer feedback. For incorrect answers, you could be like, try again. Watch this video. And then say it's this one. It's not. That's a really bad one. Let's try that one. You could have that video clip for incorrect answers so they know where to look for the answer. If it's correct answer, you'd be like, stay the course. And you hit save. And then this is the feedback all students will get. So the correct answers, students will get this. Incorrect answers, they'll get this. And that's non-individualized. What I was showing you was like after the kids have responded, you can go back and check and give kids individual feedback if you would like. Yeah. I have students that share the Chromebook with their younger siblings and they're in class at the same time. And so they would show up to class like on their phone, which I was okay with last semester because they didn't have any assignments that were due like presently. I used to, because I have seniors, I'd give them like Monday and then it was due Friday kind of thing because I had students with jobs. I had students who were babysitting. I had students that were working 60 hours a week in the field with their parents. And I didn't want to over impact them, if that makes sense. Julie, thank you for answering how to do an add-on. I kind of got sidetracked. There is 2 minutes left. I'm so sorry. I know a lot of you guys are running, but I do need to be evaluated because I need everybody's approval. No, I'm joking. They told me to say that. They told me to make sure that you guys evaluate me. So here is the link to my evaluation form that Julie and Sharmisa also added. I didn't make it a bit.ly. But before you go, please, please, please evaluate me. And I'm going to hold back 5 minutes if you have any other questions. I hope I've been helpful. And like I said, you can also email me if you have questions, or you can reach out to your tech person at your site. Everybody knows. I don't drink Coke, only Dr. Pepper. Here's my plug. It's what's keeping me sane during the shelter in place.
Stephanie, it's Carolyn again. I knocked myself off with trying to close out a tab, but I did add on the add-on names in chat.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And that's going to be recorded. And I'm going to go ahead and send this to Brianna again so she can link it, so you guys can look over this recording as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Hi, my name's Angela. I'm a substitute for the district, and it's not entirely specific to this particular training, but I am wondering if any of you can tell me what I need to get trained on for real-time interactions with your students as we go into distance learning.
Unfortunately, I don't know. If anybody else has feedback, that would be great, because the substitute distance learning thing is like weird to me. I don't know. I have no clue how it works. I have no clue how they like monitoring.
Stephanie, I would guess that the teachers will probably leave an assignment for the students, like in Google Classroom, and you'll need to take attendance and, you know, check in with the students. But I'm guessing teachers will leave something for the students to do independent of the teacher, hopefully. But obviously Google Classroom is something. I don't know that they'll be asking you to create forms or documents, but if we do need a long-term sub, who knows what they'll ask substitutes to do if someone actually gets sick for a long period of time. So
but then
that's a good question.
Do you have to give them access to your Google Classroom then, or like give them access to your Go Guardian for them to take attendance? That's the thing where it gets kind of weird, you know?
Yeah, Go Guardian, that's
I'm
a very
wondering
good question. Sorry.
As
Go
an
ahead.
in-class
Not
sub, we did
for,
not have access to that.
Not for attendance, because you can actually log in as a substitute, but going for a long-term situation, the district through IT would give that person access to the Synergy, as well as usually create another Google Classroom for that teacher to have access.
Stephanie?
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, this is Carlos. What I did is I subbed. I'm a substitute also, and they called me to sub at La Paz the last 2 weeks of school. So what they had to do, they had to assign me as sort of like the staff and take over that class. So they could assign me to Google Classroom, because usually as a sub, you sign in as a substitute. Only less you do is just attendance. So the Google Classroom and Synergy, you don't have access to that, the grade book or anything like that. So they had me to give me permission to do that the last 2 weeks. The teacher before me already had assignments that assigned to the student. So they sent them to me and I went over it. And I had to assign, then I ended up assigning grades for the fourth quarter and the semester, which on the home list was the ones for the third quarter.
Yeah, I'm guessing. So, okay. Thank you so much, Carlos. Angela, did that help?
Yes, thanks.
Carlos, you subbed my class.
Yeah, I did.
I remember that. Okay. Was there any other questions? Like I said, you guys are free to go whenever you want. The class ended 3 minutes ago. Just please make sure you fill out the evaluation. You're welcome.
Can you show me how to do the add-on, Stephanie? I'm such a visual. I appreciate Julie's
Yeah.
instructions, but like I'm like you, I'm visual. I would appreciate that if you can.
Oh yeah.
Thanks.
To do. Okay, let me think. I was not in the mode for this yet. How did I do the add-ons? Is it extensions? What's the difference between an extension and an add-on? I think so. I'm also on my desktop. Are you on your desktop or your Chromebook?
I'm on my desktop.
Okay, you're fine then. Windows?
Yeah.
Chrome?
But I'll watch you do it.
Okay. Okay, so what I do is I go to manage extensions. These are the ones I've already like downloaded. You can search for extensions. Did she write the names or the names?
She said they're add-ons, actually, not extensions. Carolyn corrected herself. Yeah. There. Julie had directions in the chat.
Form.
She said open a form.
There we go. Okay. Add-ons. So here's the form. You click on your three dots. You go to add-ons. It's going to take my computer a minute because of all the bandwidth that needs to get used. And then you can do the form limiter is what she was talking about.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then hit install. And then it asks for permission and all of those things. You know, I'm just going to go ahead and install it. Why not? And yes, I always choose my account. And then it asks for a lot of permissions. See and delete drive files. See, I don't know about that. But I always read all of these things because I don't know if I want it doing all of these things. I'm sure it's fine. Because you can always take add-ons off later. Then it's done. And once it's added on, you can limit the date and time or the number of form responses. That's cool.
So is the add-on just for a specific form, or does it apply towards all your future forms?
So now that you've done the add-on, it should be on all of your forms that you can give it again. So like add-ons, and it knows I've already installed form limiter, so I would just click on it again, and it should be like part of this now. I don't know how to access that. Maybe if I hold on. Maybe? Yes? I don't know. I showed you how to get the add-on. Using it is a different story.
I don't know if Julie's still on the call or
No,
not.
she left.
Okay.
Forms add-on, blah, blah, blah. How do you get it to, like, do stuff? Launch? No, that wasn't it. That was bad.
Go to the little puzzle piece in the upper right corner where it has all the add-ons.
Ah, there you go.
I just did it too.
You're smart.
So you do have to add for each form, right, Sharmisa?
I don't think so. Once it's there, it should be there. I think right now, yeah, because when I did the it's an add-on, huh? Hold on. What other?
So once you've installed it, if you click the puzzle piece and you add on form limiter, it lets you do things. This one's empty, which is why it's not letting me do anything. Like,
No, it keeps going because my Bitmoji was an add-on, and it like added it right in there, and I use it whenever.
Did you see where I clicked on the puzzle piece? If you click set limit, it's already installed and it'll let you do all the stuff. So you just need to go to this puzzle piece on each form that you open.
Okay. Well, the Bitmoji, Sharmisa, is an extension, but this is an add-on.
No, yeah. I thought it said it was an. Hold on.
Bitmoji is an extension. This is
an yeah. Does it tell you what things are add-ons?
You
it
have
has like a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You have to go to. I'm gonna stop recording at this point.